Hey, everybody. I am Eric J. Olson. I'm the CEO of Array Digital, a digital marketing agency that focuses exclusively on law firms. And we are recording a live episode for the Managing Partners podcast. In this podcast series, we interview America's top managing partners to find out how they started, how they're growing, and how they keep their case pipeline full. And today I have with me Davey Jones. Hey, Davey, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for making the time. Let me tell the audience a little bit about you. So Davey Jones is married with 2 daughters, an active Catholic, and a solo practitioner of 13 years. Your specialties are general civil litigation with a focus on domestic law. Welcome to the podcast.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, again, thanks for making the time. If you would, tell the audience a little bit more about yourself and your firm.
Okay. So born and raised here in Alexandria, where I've migrated back to begin this practice. Mother, father, two younger siblings, so normal childhood. Left town for college, obviously, and then law school, and then found the first job available back in Alexandria, and kind of got stuck here. But it's worked out. I've been very blessed, and so practice is back home, right back to where I started. But we've been very fortunate. It's a good little town, about 60,000 people, so small enough to be home, but not big city life, anything like that. I guess I decided to become a lawyer because my family has just about every other profession covered, but we've never had a lawyer in the family. And so I consider myself a traditionalist and very family oriented. So I thought that being a lawyer would be some mechanism to let me give back to my family. And thankfully that's not been necessary, and was more or less just a kind of pipe dream for me growing up. But it turned into a career, so it's worked out.
That's awesome. You put a check in the lawyer checkbox, right? And you got the other professions covered now. That's
right. Yeah. So I'm here if they ever need, but hopefully never do.
How big of an area do you service? Is it Alexandria and the outskirts, or like the entire state?
We're parishes here instead of counties. So typically I stick to Rapides Parish, where Alexandria is located. But that's only recently. My practice has grown probably more than I expected to be able to handle. And so I've been able to be more selective with my cases and my clients. And so instead of traveling, the nearest district courthouse is 30 minutes away in our neighboring parish. So in the last probably 3 years, I've really trimmed it down to only Rapides Parish cases, which is a big parish, a big geographic parish, but not a very big populated parish. So to specifically answer your question, Central Louisiana would be my demographic, but more recently it's been tailored just to Rapides Parish.
Okay. As far as the kinds of clients that you work with, can you kind of describe the situations that they're in and why they would reach out to you?
Sure. My primary focus has accidentally become domestic law, so divorces and custody. It certainly didn't choose that. It chose me. And so that's every kind of demographic. I mean, everybody goes through family problems. Unfortunately, the divorces in our country are rising and only getting worse. And so that, again, unfortunately creates good business for us. It's all types of people, all types of problems. If these walls could talk, and most of the lawyers that we deal with on a regular basis in Alexandria, it's kind of a tight-knit circle, and we've got some very friendly, cordial attorneys for the most part in our area, and we deal with each other over and over again weekly. So we have to understand and deal with each other professionally and courteously, and we do. But when we talk, it almost always devolves into, man, we really got to write a book. If we could all come together and write a book about just the crazy cases that we deal with in divorce court, it surely would be a top seller.
We were chit-chatting before we hit record about social media, and we interviewed a lawyer on the podcast who probably in his 60s and very much into TikTok, has 500,000 followers, and
Cool.
He tells stories. Right, so he doesn't reveal all the details, of course.
Right.
He keeps confidential, but he tells the stories, and then he asks people's opinion on what they think the outcome should be. Really interesting. So
yeah, that is kind of interesting.
Very
That's
big
not all I
following.
do. Nice. Yeah, I bet people are interested in the drama of it, huh?
Absolutely. My wife is like addicted to Judge Judy and The People's
Right.
Court. Yeah. So it's interesting. It's what TV and movies are made of. And so, yeah, those stories are interesting. It probably would make a very good book, but certainly good for social media too. Yeah.
No doubt about it.
The second question is about how do you go about getting clients? I bet that would actually help a lot if you told those stories.
It would. Yeah, no doubt
Yeah.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even producing some of the outcomes would probably entice some potential client calls. Yeah.
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 How do you go about?
I don't know if I've got that in me though. Telling my client stories is obviously you can do it confidentially, but
Yeah.
man, it would probably be able to be figured out. So that's probably a bad idea in a small town.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's honestly if it's his clients or maybe people that have called in or news stories. It may be more along the latter.
Sure.
Not his actual clients, but stories that have to do with his practice area. So, but yeah, what are some different ways that you go about getting clients?
So I anticipated this question. I gave it a lot of thought. I think the best way to generate clients is by, well, obviously doing good work, right? You got to be a good lawyer and produce a good product. But just as importantly, I think you got to treat people right. And so I've been doing it now 13-ish years, and my largest source of client intake is unfortunately repeat business, but referrals. And so clients that are happy with what I've produced and the way that I've treated them are sending all of their friends and family to me. And so that's been the biggest source. And then one of the kind of complementary cases that I get, not often, but it does happen, is when the opposing party hires me for some future litigation. To me, that's just a huge compliment that I've done such a good job against them that they were impressed enough to hire me for something later. And then doing good work in the courthouse has been a good source of clients too, because the clerks and the judges won't refer to lawyers individually, but their staff can, right? So you treat people properly in the courtroom, like the law clerks and the minute clerks, then they'll give your name out. And so that's a big deal in divorce world, because they get people walking in or cold calls just to the judge's office, people just trying to figure out where to go and what to do. And so the referral network is definitely the most important. Short of that, social media has obviously become a huge income source. I have a company that has been handling my marketing for, I guess, 3 years now, and they're fantastic. Built me a new website, and have been doing that my SEO. And so getting me to the top of the Google ranks for just generic searches for divorce lawyer is easily my second, if not 1A and 1B source of client intake. And we're trying to push that further to personal injury rather than domestic law, because divorce work kind of sucks. There aren't a whole lot of happy divorce lawyers. And then everybody wants a piece of the personal injury pie, but we've got big advertisers. I'm sure where you are in Virginia as well, but Louisiana is just stock full of lawyers that spend millions of dollars a year on billboards and TV and radio spots, and hiring Saints football players as sponsors. So I can't compete with that type of advertising budget. So we're trying to get the SEO to produce Google results for personal injury cases.
I think that's very smart. I have gone to your website. I looked at your SEO. I think it's good. But I do think that it's very smart to be focusing on search engine optimization versus advertising, because there's the concept of the red ocean or the blue ocean, and certainly when it comes to advertising for some very competitive practice areas like personal injury, it can be very expensive. Right. Yeah. And then the brand awareness campaigns, like you said, billboards, TV, radio, things like that. I mean, that takes it to a whole new level. So very, very expensive. And
let me add to that. I don't want my name out there with one of those catchy slogans, but apparently that works. I'm not knocking it for the guys that it works for. Just not the kind of reputation I want to build. There are certainly things that rhyme with Jones that would be appropriate for a billboard. I just never wanted to entertain that.
I gotcha. Yeah. And it seems like the strategy is kind of when it comes to the mass marketing is kind of shock and awe. right?
Mm-hmm.
Get attention, but people probably won't like call because of those billboards and whatnot. But then when they get on Google and they search, the ads there, the SEO's there,
Right.
and they remember, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So it can all make sense together, but yeah, it is a difficult one, personal injury, just because there is so much money there. So that's interesting that you're moving into that. So that's great. So referrals, yep, referrals are great, and I really, that's interesting how you mentioned like the court staff, how they can make referrals, although the judges can't. So and it's something else you said is basically your reputation precedes you. Right. So it's incredibly important to make sure that you operate with integrity and uphold that reputation, right?
Yeah. And I think what really builds that is I make sure to build realistic expectations for my clients from the very beginning. Even with initial consults, I try to feed them the truth, right? And what I can try and predict might happen in the courtroom. And I very intentionally say might, because I can never offer them guarantees, obviously, for what a judge might decide. And so I think building realistic expectations through the beginning and all throughout the representation is the best start. But at the same time, guaranteeing my work product, right? Guaranteeing my professionalism and my organization and my preparedness. And so I can promise that. And when I produce that, hopefully they're happy with what I've done. And even if we, lose the case, so I think in custody worlds, everyone loses. And I tell clients that as well. But even if we don't get the results that they hope for, they can at least be happy with my production and still send me referrals.
Nice. I love that. That's great. Cool. So, we talked a little bit about marketing. We're a digital marketing agency, so we're always interested to find out what seems to be working, and also, what are some things that haven't worked for you that you stopped doing?
TV. I put a little bit of money into TV. We made 2 or 3 different commercials, and I got 0 production from it. Zero. And we track all of the calls that come in for the most part, how they got my name and why they called, that kind of thing. And I didn't get a single person that said they saw me on TV. A lot of friends that said they saw me on TV, but it didn't produce any business. And for the same reason, I never pulled the trigger on any radio advertising. And I guess it's going to depend on the location for the different search engine optimization programs. Because here, for example, getting to the top of Google ranks for divorce law was pretty easy, at least from my novice standpoint of what SEO looks like. Getting to the top on personal injury has been impossible, right? So I'm spending a lot of time and money on that personal injury because I prefer those cases, but it's taking a lot of time even to get into the off-topic searches. But somebody types into personal injury lawyer, Alexandria, Louisiana, they might find me, but probably not. It's going to take someone that types something odd, that really hits a trigger on my page or on my Facebook, something like that, to get me into the top of those searches. So I think as far as budgeting goes for Google type searches, you got to know your market, know your competitors, and I think decide what's worth spending for that production, return on investment.
Yeah, I completely agree. I have personal experience with print advertisements. We've for clients that asked us to, we've run some TV and radio campaigns in the past, although we're a digital marketing agency, and it's always like mind-boggling that that the money gets spent and there's no attribution. You don't know. Right. You don't know what that. Honestly, in some cases, they can't even tell you how big the audience is, which is crazy. So you just know you're spending money and your ads run at a particular time, but they don't know, like if it's radio, like they may not know how many people are actually listening. So it's one of those things where it's kind of like, it can work, but it's also repetitive over time. Right. Like the billboard, it's hard to attribute. It's a big budget kind of a thing. So.
And it's brand recognition. I think for the big advertisers that are playing, 4 to 10 TV ads per football game. Because you watch a Saints football game, every commercial break you're going to see 3 lawyers advertisements. Yeah. And so and that's fine. They're building that brand, that name recognition. So the billboards, the TV, the radio, sponsors, all that stuff builds the brand recognition, which I'm just not a part of. I don't have the budget for it.
Yeah. And then just like we talked about with personal injury before, when it comes to very specific like search engine optimization, it's a crowded field, right? So yeah, it requires a lot of skill and frankly a budget to go after something like that. But
but on the other hand, if you're focusing on divorce law or successions, estate planning, some of the smaller or less competitive markets, then I would think you got to budget your funds appropriately, and search engine optimization, in my opinion, is the no-brainer.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. No, that's great. I'll tell you what, on that point, maybe we should wrap it up. We're going a little on the long side, so I appreciate your time. If somebody would like to reach out to you to ask questions, or maybe they have a case for you, what is a good way for them to get in touch with you?
Email is the most direct if it's non-verbal, but calling is the easiest to match calendars to see if we can get a quick consult, or obviously the website hdjoneslaw.com, or Facebook even. So any of the methods are accessible.
Awesome, Davey. Appreciate your time. All right, everybody. If you would like to check out more episodes like this, you can check out our entire backlog. We're probably over 150 episodes at this point at arraylaw.com/podcast. We have them organized not only by practice area, but by state where the firm is located, so you can find exactly what you're looking for. And if you're interested in digital marketing for your law firm, that's what my company, Array Digital, focuses on. We focus on websites, SEO, online advertising, and social media. And you can find out more about those services at arraylaw.com. Davey, appreciate your time.